Police Major Olivia Parker lay in ICU 214 of Central Medical Center, Washington, D.C. Her body was shattered by an explosion that had ripped through her last investigation. Bandages hid the determined face of a detective who, at only 36, had chased criminals for 16 years and uncovered a pharmaceutical company's deadly counterfeit drug network. Hundreds had died. Olivia had gotten too close. Now she hovered between life and death. Only one thing pierced her fading consciousness. Her partner, Bars, a 5-year-old German Shepherd trained to detect explosives and poisons. More than a canine, he was family. "Where's Bars?" she whispered to Nurse Anna Johnson, her voice like paper tearing. Animals were forbidden in the ICU, but the hospital bent the rules. Nobody imagined that decision would expose a hidden murder plot that on the third day after the blast, Bars padded into the sterile room. He wagged once, then froze. His dark eyes sharpened. Olivia's fingers trembled against his fur. "My boy, if I don't make it," she murmured. The dog whined but stayed rigid, nostrils flaring, ears flicking. Something felt wrong. Doctor Andrew White, a celebrated surgeon with an impeccable resume, entered to check the monitors. The moment he approached, Bars growled. Anna startled. She had never seen a service dog behave like that toward a doctor. "Animals sense things we don't," White said lightly, yet Bars' low rumble didn't stop. Anna's unease deepened. She called Colonel David Miller of the Investigative Bureau. "Bars is no ordinary dog," she insisted. "If he reacts like this, there's a reason." Miller ordered a quiet background check. The findings were chilling. Large, unexplained deposits flowed into White's account. The money traced back to Stephen Brenner, a polished crime boss linked to counterfeit medications. Wiretaps confirmed White's role. During surgery, he planned to inject poison instead of anesthetic. Olivia's death would look like a complication, erasing the only witness who could expose them. Yet time was slipping away. Without surgery, Olivia would die. With White, she'd be murdered. Miller and Anna installed hidden cameras, checked every ampoule, and watched Bars grow more restless by the hour. Each time White entered, the dog's muscles tensed and his stare hardened. "That dog is her guardian angel," Anna whispered. Miller began to believe it. Night stretched heavy before the operation. Olivia half-dozed, stroking Bars' fur, while monitors beeped like distant clocks. Bars stayed at her side, nostrils twitching at every footstep. In the doctor's lounge, White made calls, his hands trembling as Brenner's voice hissed through the phone. The job must be finished. No mistakes. Miller clenched his jaw. They had to catch him in the ACT. Dawn Olivia was wheeled toward the operating suite. Officially, Bars was kept behind a glass partition for psychological support. Unofficially, he was their living alarm. Olivia looked at him with fading strength. "My protector, if I don't come back." The dog hit the glass softly with his paw, as if he understood. Inside the theater, the scene looked normal. Bright lights, masked faces, instruments in neat rows. But tension hung like a wire. Anna watched on a monitor, heart hammering. White prepared the anesthetic, movements precise, eyes cold. Among the vials lay a small syringe, almost invisible. Bars, in the next room, stiffened. His nostrils flared. The hair along his spine rose. A low growl built into a roar that rattled the glass. He sensed something. Anna gasped into her radio. Miller, watching the feed, saw White lift the syringe toward the foreline. "That's him," he whispered. "Wait for the signal." Bars couldn't wait. Training dissolved into instinct. He hurled himself at the door, claws gouging deep scratches, howl echoing down the corridor. White turned, fear flickering in his eyes. He lunged to inject the line, but the door burst open. Bars, having broken free, flew into the operating room. The German Shepherd slammed into White, knocking the syringe to the floor. The liquid splashed harmlessly across the tiles. His jaws locked on the surgeon's wrist, holding him immobile. "Now!" Miller barked. A SWAT team stormed in, forcing White face down and snapping handcuffs over his wrists. The seized ampoule tested positive for a lethal poison, enough to kill Olivia within minutes. Silence fell. Everyone understood that only the dog had prevented a murder. Under partial anesthesia, Olivia opened her eyes. "You saved me," she whispered. Miller felt a lump in his throat. "A true officer, just with 4 legs," he murmured, stroking Bars' head. Yet the bigger fight lay ahead. White was merely a pawn. Brenner's empire still poisoned hospitals nationwide, hiding behind officials, pharmacists, and false documents. Even the hospital's chief of staff, Professor Nelson, had signed off on shipments of fake drugs. An emergency meeting. Miller spread the evidence across the table. Wiretaps, bank transfers, coded notes. "We're not dealing with one rogue surgeon," he said grimly. We're facing a mafia embedded in healthcare. The assassination attempt on Olivia had been just one move to protect millions of dollars in profit. 4 days' secret operations unfolded. Surveillance teams tracked Brenner's associates, shadowing meetings, intercepting calls. Barr stayed near Olivia's room, still on alert. The surgery to repair her injuries was performed by a vetted surgeon and lasted long hours. Barr guarded the door, as if no lock or rule could keep him from his duty. When at last he was allowed back in, he placed his muzzle gently on Olivia's bandaged hand. Even through heavy sedation, she managed to squeeze his ear. Outside, Miller's team prepared the next strike. Names, accounts, and supply routes were mapped. Warrants waited for signatures. Somewhere in the city, Brenner moved like a man untouchable, unaware that the dog he had underestimated had already turned the tide. The network was vast, dangerous, and ready to kill again. But for the first time, it was under watch. As night fell over Washington, the hospital room glowed faintly with machine lights. Barr lay at the foot of Olivia's bed, eyes half closed yet ears still twitching, as if sensing a battle not yet finished. Barr proved invaluable in the investigation. His nose detected traces of poison where machines failed, guiding agents through warehouses and hospital basements. In one hidden chamber, they discovered ampoules of the same toxin meant for Olivia, alongside patient records showing deaths disguised as complications. White had murdered witnesses under the cover of medicine. The evidence revealed a vast scheme. Counterfeit drugs distributed nationwide, profits laundered overseas, even ties to foreign groups. We must act now, Miller ordered. Raids swept across Washington and beyond, arresting couriers and suppliers. The main target, Brenner, hid in a fortified mansion. The night before the raid, Miller visited Olivia. She was recovering, fragile yet resolute. Finish this for those who died, she whispered. He promised. At dawn, a convoy surrounded Brenner's estate. Police, on the ground. Shots rang out. Guards resisted, but were overwhelmed. Inside, luxury mass corruption. Basements filled with fake medications, documents, and cash. Brenner tried to flee through a hidden tunnel, but was caught. Handcuffed, he sneered. Another will replace me. The system is stronger than you. Miller replied coldly. Maybe, but today you lost. Barr growled softly, recognizing the man behind Olivia's suffering. Brenner's capture shook the nation. The trial exposed accounts, bribes, and the deaths of countless patients. Dr. White received life without parole. Brenner, too, was condemned to maximum security. Hospital Chief Nelson was sentenced to 25 years. Judges declared betrayal of medical trust unforgivable. The scandal forced reforms, stricter procurement laws, and independent testing of drugs. For Olivia, recovery was long. Scars covered her body. Her steps were unsteady, but her spirit endured. Returning to the department after rehabilitation, she was met with applause. At her side walked Barr, the dog whose loyalty had saved her life. His heroism filled newspapers. Children wrote letters calling him their champion. Months later, the White House honored him with a medal for valor and fidelity, the highest recognition for a service animal. The president himself praised him. True heroes aren't always human. Olivia stood proudly, fighting back tears. She knew she owed her survival to the partner at her side. Time passed. Together with Miller, she founded an organization to combat counterfeit drugs, funding training and supporting honest professionals. Barr continued serving, now as a mentor in canine training. For many, he symbolized courage and devotion that I end quiet evenings along the Potomac. Olivia walked with Barr at her side. She would smile down at him. You're not just my partner, you're my life. And as his tail wagged in response, the legend of Major Parker and Barr lived on. Proof that even in the darkest hour, loyalty and bravery can change the fate of a nation.